there are two types of tips. Okay? Stay with me. It's been 5 seconds, please stay with me. There are two types of tips. Things that you apply and things that you have to interpret first. And then you can apply, but it's really hard to apply what you were taught or what you were advised. Instead, you apply what your interpretation of that advice is. So why am I bringing this up? It was originally lyric writing, but I think it'd be naive to believe that it can only stay in lyrics. It can apply to, I think it really can apply to themes of songs as well. But let's crack on. So what I mean by it, right, is that there's this category of tip that you can give someone that has merit. No one can argue that it doesn't have merit. But they're a bit fucking useless. And they're useless because they force the person to have to interpret it anyway, which can be useful if the person is in a headspace to be able to digest it. But if this person is lost and your only aim is to give them advice on how to help themselves, and your whole advice is with this like some assembly required tip on how to improve, pretty useless. And it happens a lot. I think it will. I mean, I'm not at uni because I hate the education system, but I believe it's going to happen. It happens a lot at uni in subjective lessons. Right. So let's give an example. So let's say I was an English teacher, yeah, and I said to my class, when you're writing a story, you always want your first sentence to grip the reader. Go on. Grip the reader. I've given you advice, but I haven't given you any advice because I haven't really helped you learn how to do it. I've just told you that it was an important thing to do. If I was to say, you need to grip the reader, one great way to do that is like this. Now I've done the other version, which is apply. Do you see the difference? For the first one, you have to completely and utterly and only interpret what I've said. You need to do this, you need to grip the reader. You have to interpret, and then you can apply, but you apply your interpretation, not necessarily what I was thinking when I originally said it to you. Whereas if I said you need to grip the reader, and one way that we can do that, and this is the way that I want you to try first of all, is I want you to do, which is what I'm about to talk about, now I've given you both. Which one's better? I don't know. There isn't really a right or a wrong, because it completely depends on the person that you're saying it to. But one's easier. Maybe not better, but easier. And what is something that is really hard? Lyrics are really hard. And for a long time I thought it was impossible to give advice on lyrics and theme picking, because something that I observed about myself was that I didn't know what was good. I only knew what was bad. I only knew in negatives. Someone said, how do you write good lyrics? Didn't have a clue. Someone told me, how do you write bad lyrics? And away I went. That was a hard thing to come to terms with. Because I was always running the risk of never being satisfied with my lyrics. Because it was never, there we go, I've got it. It was always just, oh, it's not bad, so guess it's alright. Itchy eye. Which sucks. And it was quite a numb loop of only knowing things in negatives. It wasn't like I didn't know what was good, so what I would do is I would just highlight what I knew was bad, discard it, and then believe to myself that whatever I was left with, however light or dense, must be where the true value lies. And my job was to just kind of keep until I find it. And that's a pretty brutal way to write lyrics. It's very mentally exhausting. I did that writing method for Visitor and for Proof Is in the Rain. And fucking hell, both of them songs nearly killed my brain, it feels like. Whereas for Medal, which is the song I released 6 days ago, last Tuesday, today's Monday, I pretty much wrote it without thinking. And coolly, brilliant, good English. Interestingly, it's my most viewed video already. It actually became my most viewed video after one day. Visitor was on like 125 and Medal hit 139 views by end of the day. And I didn't think about only knowing things in negatives, and that was the final bit of proof I needed that the theory burning in the back of my head was what I needed to talk about here, and here I am. So there is a way to write lyrics without only knowing things in negatives, and there is a way to give advice on writing lyrics that isn't just this flimsy, you have to interpret, I want something that grips me at the start of the story kind of tip. There is a way, and it's either the title or the thumbnail of this video. And the phrase I made for it is unconventionally conventional. If something is conventional, it is expected. Not necessarily good. If something being conventional doesn't determine its worth, but it determines your reaction to it. Yeah, that sounds about right. Conventional things aren't good or bad, but they're expected. Unconventional things aren't good or bad, but they're unexpected. Or they're... Yeah, no, that's good. I'm happy with that. So how do you do unconventionally conventional? How do you do something unexpectedly expected? We all have the same definition of conventional. Maybe not literally, but in the back of our heads we all believe the same thing to be conventional. We have names for it. Cliché, caricature. These are things that are so conventional that we've had to literally point out how conventional they are by giving them a name and a category and a subtype. But we all define unconventional differently. I don't know what you think is unconventional. I know what I think is unconventional. But if you just do just conventional, just your unconventional, why do I care? You haven't created any bridge for me to walk towards you. You haven't reached out to me, so why would I give a shit? I wouldn't. And that's why songs that are so weird aren't cared for. If we were to just do conventional, why do I care that it's yours? Because it's like you're taking ownership of something. I know that if you didn't take ownership of it, it would still exist, right? Like, why do I need to care that your version, your simile of saying tonight at the end of your chorus is different from 90 other artists doing it? Why do I need to care? I don't. If anything, I get more annoyed by it. I feel detached by the idea that you're saying this is my song, and I'm like, no, it's fucking not. It's a song. It's too conventional. There's nothing about it that's yours. So how do you make the listener care lyric-wise? How do you write things that validate how you feel, but don't just rewrite what was going on in your life that day? You can't just say, I'm so sad at the moment. Because if you said that in a song, so I'm so detached from you, I don't give a shit, because you can't claim that that's your phrase. You can't claim that that's from your brain. If anything, there's such little thought back here to just go, I'm feeling a bit sad. Oh, I feel sad at the moment. Don't know why I've got a West Country accent. Sorry, people. Whereas if you said something unnecessarily weird, like I feel like a bamboo in June in Iceland when it's green where the Vikings have been, and I knew you'd see a green tea in my dream. I don't even know what I just said. I'm going to have to rewatch that and see. But I don't care about that either, because it's so artsy or so unconventional, so you, that there's no place for me. Doesn't mean that what you've made is bad, it means that I don't care about it. Me not caring isn't a display of what I believe the quality of it is, but I'm not going to care about it. I don't care about it because it's only focused on you. So before I give the whole unconventionally thing, I remember making an analogy about this. So here's what it was, right? Imagine there's a long line of ships, and we're all going this way. Every human being has their own ship, and every human being is on a ship in this line. Long line. The wind is pushing us all along. But if you were to write about the wind, I don't care, because the wind isn't yours. So for you to write and claim that it is, means I know that you are dramatising your reality for no reason than to make it interesting, I guess. And if you were to not write that it was yours and just write about the wind, well then there's no personal connection for either of us, so what's the point? However, if you were to only write about your ship, I also don't give a fuck, because I'm not on that ship, so I don't care. You can care, brilliant, fine, write it for you, no one else, and you're fine, but I don't care about your ship. Like you wouldn't care about mine. So what do? You write about how the wind affects your ship. Because even though the ship is only mine and the wind is no one's, how the wind affects your ship is for everyone. And there's a personal connection because we're all going the same way. So if you write about how the wind affects your ship, then I can look up at my ship and see the wind affecting my ship. And now there's a personal connection to conventional things, unconventionally conventional. Unconventionally conventional. I've only used normal words, I've only spoken about normal things that we can all relate to. But I've said it in my way, so you know that when I'm saying this is mine, you're okay with it. Okay, we'll leave it there. Unconventionally conventional. Use it. Songwriters, please. Use it. I'm off. Goodbye.